We get to study Torah for the sake of heaven and the sake of Israel and all of Jerusalem. We'd like to give the merit of our study and the merit of our Torah to Stephen King, Avraham ben Moshe Gilla, Ed Striblin, Linda Flora, Carla Ducerio, Cody Lovejoy, Raymond Rosentrader, Brooke Gibson, Paul Navarez, Garrett Matlich, Jordan Matlich, the patients of Texas Oncology, Rita Wilson, H.L. and Betty McCuskey, Yeshaya Peak, Bria Wanstad, Elise Hagar, Nadine Freeman, Logan Willis, Billy Hope, Charles David, Christopher Durkin, Noel Cardoza, David Douglas, Vicki McLean, and David Douglas, talked to him last week. He said he was going for his checkup. Looks like they're going to do a procedure that's going to give him maybe 20 more years of life. He had the absolute worst pancreatic cancer known to man, one of them no survivor things.
Yeah.
And he's been doing great.
That's all we can say.
Tom and Karen Maitland.
20 years, good outcome.
Sandra Hayes, Carol Tiekle, Larry Laneberg, Juliet Navarro, Blake Hine, Leela Briscoe, Sam Peak, Yehuda Ben Matai, James London, David Jenkins, Jake Suarez, Bobby Williams Sr., George Brock, the Rogers family, Carol Gibson, Damian Washington, Carol Scott, Ty Harrington, Maurice Greenwood, Carol Tickle, she couldn't be here tonight, she's feeling kind of on the weather, Gracie Bill Linder, Vicki McLean, Malcolm Wilham, Amanda Elliott, Frank Pollard, Carol's family, Baby Denard, Alexander, son of Jamie Justice, daughter of Jeremy Adams, Simcha Ben Avraham, Amber Merchant, Dylan Tickle, Lauren Jones Smith, Gustavo De Leon, Brad Mace, Virgil Williams, Sandra Hurth, Crispin Rodriguez, Kim Lowley, Debbie January, Kimberly Brown. Ruler of the universe and master of all masters, Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy word, and that you enable us to take part in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such a big favor. That is the reason we plead before you, that you will forgive and acquit all of our sins, and they should not bring separation between you and us. May it be your will before you, our God and the God of our fathers, that you will awaken and prepare our hearts to love and revere you, and may you listen to our utterances and open our closed heart to the hidden study of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before your place of honor as aroma of sweet incense, and may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all of our being, and may the sparks of your holy servants through which you revealed your wisdom to the world shine. May their merit and the merit of their fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us so we shall not stumble through our study, and by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, as stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes so I see wonders from your Torah, because from his mouth God gives wisdom and understanding. May the utterance of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, God, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen.
Amen.
All righty. Give a little recap here from class gone by, because it's going to be pertinent today. Back up here on the map, Russell.
Okay.
I'll give you a second. If we look at this, where it says Tanta right there, we've already talked about the Nephesh. The Tanta back up in that area is going to be where the Ein Sof is emanating the potential that has all the letters, all the points, the vowels, the crowns, all that thing. That's what that all is. So in that first thing, which he emanated sound, and then inside the sound of language is always going to be the letters of the language that the light runs through the letters that actually makes the sound. Okay, so that is. I just want to kind of reiterate that because it's going to become important here when we go through the Song of Songs at that portion. Let me get my little Song of Songs here. Okay. Real quick, I wanted to go back. Just a little thing here. Remember we talked about your oils are fragrant, and your name is poured out. Therefore, maidens love you. And we went through what the maidens were. Went through all that. Here's a little bit on this oil, and it says, your oils refer to God's dual and gracious manifestations, the written Torah and the oral Torah. The Torah was likened to oil to imply that just as oil in its original forms as olives is bitter, but afterwards becomes sweet. So the study of Torah at first becomes laborious, but later becomes pleasant. Just as oil does not mix with other fluids, so Torah cannot mix with light-headed levity. As one becomes more frivolous, his Torah knowledge deserts him. His Torah knowledge, just as oil when mixed with other liquids always rises to the top, so Torah causes Israel to rise above all nations. So what it's saying is, you know, when you first start studying Torah, it's just difficult. You're trying to learn the words and learn what's going on and get this conscious of how God's thinking and everything. It's just like a grind. And then all of a sudden one day, all the map falls in, and you can, like we did before class, you can just start laying stuff on top of things, and you can go in a direction. But if you leave the Torah and you go secular, your Torah leaves you because oil and water don't mix. That type of deal is what it's saying. The oil will rise to the top and be gone. So I thought that was a kind of a neat explanation that they had, that this oil is so it is whenever you make the connection, whenever you take the Malchut and you're connecting earth to heaven, and you're helping make this connection, Abba gets involved, and it sends this oil down. And in the desert it was manna, you know, and they made the connection. They got the manna, all right, and they got the Torah, and God took care of them, and they had water. They had everything they needed. No clothes wore out, no shoes wore out. When you get in Torah and you make the connection, what does He do? He gives you more, he just gives you more Torah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's this oil coming down. That's why you just keep getting more, and you just keep getting more, and you're like, where's it all coming from? And it's coming from Him. He just keeps pouring it out, you know, because you've made the connection. So, all right, today we're going to we talked about draw me after you and we will run. The king brought me into his chambers. We talked about that. We will start now. We will be glad and rejoice in you. We will remember your love more than wine. Rightly they love you. Okay, this is verse 4, chapter 1, Song of Songs. We will also go into verse 5. I am black but comely, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon. Gaze upon me, for I am dark, because the sun has scorched me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of their vineyards. But my own vineyards I have not kept. Verse 7. Tell me, O you who my soul loves, where do you pasture your flock? Where do you make rest at noon? And we're going to stop right there today, which is in the middle of verse 7. Okay? From last week, we will be glad and rejoice in you. We, as we have learned, is the Nelva Geri. It is the stimulation from below. This is what brings her in deeper. The words draw me in after you. This draw me comes is likened to the word akraim, the other side. So she's wanting to be drawn in, but she's requesting just kind of because she's got the Nelva Geri, right? Well, they're from the other side, so just bring us in close enough. Of course, he draws them all the way in. Why? Because there's double stimulation going on. It's her and the Noga. So she's requesting just the akraim, just the outer courts, but he brings her into his palaces. So the king took me into his inner rooms. She requested only the outer or the back. But there is so much stimulation, it brings it in. This is the secret of the seal of the Nelva. It makes the suction present. And so it's like this. You have a vacuum cleaner, you know, and you know, as soon as it hits, and then it forms a seal. Okay, this is what happens. She's wanting to be drawn in, and there's so much stimulation. You know, these lips, the suction is from the kisses are fixing to draw out the nitso, and she's just wanting to just get in a little bit. But as soon as it nelvas, as soon as it attaches itself or connects itself, it sucks it all the way in, just like sort of like a vacuum cleaner. It's creating a velocity. And that reminds me, I was reading a journal, Thursday last week?
Yeah. No, probably Wednesday.
And on the internet, and the title was "Black Holes, Not the End. Physical objects could cross a wormhole into another universe." And so I went ahead and printed this out just to show y'all. Printed this out, and written by Hannah Osborne at some journal of classic quantum gravity. It's something in the UK. They put stuff out all the time. I kind of go and look and see what science and astrophysics. This is the researchers from the Institute of Astrophysics, Space Sciences in Portugal. They do all kind of stuff over there. And what caught me was the first verse of the second paragraph. It says, "Traditionally, at the center of a black hole lies a singularity," which is what we've been saying. As soon as it goes into the black hole vacuum, there's nothing on the other side but a singularity. And so this is Messiah and Joseph. This is Kol HaTorah, when science and Torah are speaking the same language. And here it is, right here. So, this is the draw me in after you. As Rob Volley says, all these that are Nelvim will rejoice and be happy. This is in verse 4. We will be glad and rejoice in you.
That's the Nelvim.
Yeah, once it's Nelvimed, once it's connected. There is no realm of happiness in the realm of Guvarot except in the realm of unification. Just as there is no happiness for a woman unless she is union with her husband. She has nothing of her own. When there is a zivug, then they draw down the shefa. The shefa is alluded to in drawing this shefa down together. This is completing the entire loop. The Gerim, spoken of in Nelva Gerim, is Berea, Yetzirah, and Asiya. So what's happening is we know there is the two Keruvims guarding the Malchut of Bina, which is the aspect of Leah, right? The entrance to the Gan. This is Berea, Yetzirah, Asiya. So when everything attaches, this entire structure that goes up is Nelva Gerim. Not only is it people, it is the worlds. This is cool. This completion is alluded to in the 22 letters of the alphabet. All right? So, because God spoke the 22 letters, right? And that emanated all of creation, then everything is run by a name formula or a letter formula in Torah. So in Berea, Yetzirah, and Asiya, this completion is the 22 letters. When this brings up, this is the completion of the 22 letters. In the verse, we will be glad and rejoice. You see those two words says in you right there? Mm-hmm. In you. In you. Because the Nelva GER are her skin. The Shefa that they draw down is the holy letters. What does this have to do with skin? We're going to get to that. Because the word in you spells Bach, Bet, Kuf, Kav. But when you're looking at it from God's point of view, Kav Bet means the 22. These are the 22. When Jacob came to the place with Rachel and Leah, and he's doing the whole Sulam ladder thing, it says he went to sleep. He was going there to sleep. Sleep is zivug in Torah. At that place, at the Makom, it says he lay. He says he lay there. The word Yish Kavbet. Yesh, there is, Kavbet, 22. So he literally established that Berea Yitzhak Asiya, the Leah Rachel aspect, the whole ladder, he was the entire 20. It was the entire 22 Aleph Bet. That was one of the establishment. This was the union. I wonder if I ought to go into my deal now. Now we'll wait. A person only mentions or recalls which is dear to him. So the verse says, we will praise your love more than wine. We will declare or remember. This word here is the same as remember or will praise. It is in the masculine. That your love is better than wine. The kasha is, why does he mention this here? The thing that is most dear to them. Why is this love of him mentioned here? Because the first verse mentions wine as well. This wine, gematria is 70, 70 nations, 70 is the sod, 70 is wine, 70 is the 7 spherotes of her. And it was mentioned, but the kiss of his hesed was greater. What it is alluding to here? We will remember your love is better than wine. Up here it says, for your love is better than wine. So it's saying the same thing twice. Because in the pure Hasidim, there is no mixture of the Sitra Achra. But in the wine of the mother, the Guberot can... But, all right, when there's pure Hasidim, the Sitra Achra cannot affect the Hasidim. But because wine is on the side of Guberot, and Bina is wine, but because the daughter comes from her, it can be affected on that side. Okay? That's why it entered in through the daughter anyway, because unmitigated Guberot can be attacked. All right? But in the wine of the mother, the Guberot can be attached to by the Sitra Achra. We will recall you because of your maleness. In other words, we will praise you, we will recall you, because remember, as in remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Remember his male, keep his female. Remember that class? So, the question is asked, what is the Havamina of the source of this wine? What is the writer thinking about? Saying wine there, saying wine there. That she needs to say your love and kisses are greater than wine, and we're going to remember your love is better than wine, because wine is the root of the Guverot. So she's speaking from that point. The Ari says, true prayer of the Shekinah. This is a true prayer of the Shekinah to the Holy One. Because she had to go down in the place and protect her children in the worlds of Berea, Yetzirah, and Asiya. Here is the way they receive the Shephah from the Holy One. They will receive his Hasidim. She and they will be mitigated and run after you, the same as what's the word here is ratzon, which is in his will or his desire. They are now in his rooms. In his rooms, these palaces, these are the 6 extremities of Zeranpin, given to her through his Yesod. This is what the rejoicing is, and we will rejoice. When his Hasidim connects to her Guvarot, at that point of this rejoicing, her Yesod is called Zion. Therefore, this is what causes the rejoicing of her Guvarot. And she receives the 22 letters of his Yesod. These are the upper kisses and the lower kisses. Kiss me with the kisses. One is upper, one is lower. One is here, one is here. Because here is now gone to there. So there always has to be kiss me, right? But he's given her the 22 letters. This is bringing her into the inner chambers of Zeranpin. This is the zivu that she requested from the very first verse that she said, which, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is better than wine. And then the next few verses are everything she's collected to bring in, which is Noah Gerim and all these other things. All right? Therefore, the next verse says, therefore the righteous love you. These are. Who are these righteous that love you? The word here, instead of Yesharim, is Masharim. Yesharim means the straight ones. But Mesharim are those who make righteous. Those who have made righteous. And this mitigates her Guvarot. These mitigations are dependent upon his Hasidim. Who are the Masharims that love you? It says right here, we will praise your love more than wine. Rightly, they love you. Who are these ones that are saying rightly they love you? The Mesharims or the GER? Meaning to be made straight, or making it straight. Because Guvarot is curved and she wants the straight Hasidim. Okay? Mm-hmm. Therefore, in the time of Solomon, there were many converting due to the revelation of the divine wisdom, because all the 22 letters, everything is there. All wisdom from above, from Chokmah, is there. The Goy recognized the truth and did away with their gods. Same at the end times. They will become as water covers the sea. Now, it says, I am black but comely, O daughters of Jerusalem, like tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon. Ravali says, the Shekinah dwells in Jerusalem and goes out from there to all the lands of the world. Therefore, all cities of the world are daughters of Jerusalem. So now she is talking about them. This is, I am black but comely, O daughters of Jerusalem. Now, at this point in my studies, I was studying with Francisco, and we were going through some of this, and we started thinking about these 22 letters. Because the 22 letters are a part of this Zahara Ila'ah, this garment, this supernal Chaya garment of Adam. Alright? So, what happens? Adam has this garment. He gives this garment to Seth. Alright? Seth gives it to Noah. Right? Noah used it to talk to all the animals. Noah had Shem and Japheth cover him with this garment, right? Because this was the garment that Ham was trying to strip off, basically. All right? So Ham gets the garment, gives it, and Ham steals this garment, which is this Shephah of these 22 letters, gives it to Nimrod. Now we know that Jacob winds up with it, and so does Joseph. But how did they get it? Esau kills Nimrod and takes this garment that started. This is the noga of the whole thing, way back when, with all the potentials of the letters. So what God does is when they leave Egypt, He puts he has them get all the gold and earrings and all that stuff, and it says, and He stripped their garments at Mount Horeb, right? And they made the golden calf. When God allowed them to adorn themselves, the Zohar says that they put on the 22 letters. This is their garment. When the holy letters are your outer garment, then the Sitra Achra cannot penetrate, and so all the evil forces were kept away. All right? But when they took off their garments and made the golden calf, attacked them again. So, why? I have a kasha question up for today, for yesterday. Why does God not, at the Tower of Babel, why does He confuse the language instead of just destroying the tower? Because it's the 22 letters that were building the thing. As if they spoke it, it made it. And so He says, if they keep using this garment, these letters, that as soon as they say, okay, we need a tower, poof, there's a tower. Then we can't stop them because they're using the formula. So what does He do? He disperses the language, which in fact destroys a tower, because it's the letters that are holding everything together. So He disperses the language. No more problem with a tower. And that made the 70 languages. Here, she's bringing the 70 languages back in, the Gerim back in, and what does He do? He garments her with the 22 letters, as it was before. Because it is reestablishing the pure language we studied a couple weeks ago, which is Melvager. All right? So, I put another kasha question on there. Why is there no ark in the second temple? There was in the first temple. All right? And there's going to be in the third temple. So, we look on the board here. Bina, the Malchut Bina, is the first temple. The Malchut of Rachel, this is Leah, this is Rachel, is the second temple. All right? Where are the Keruvim on this board? Where are the GER Keruvim? They're right there at the first temple, because that's their root. This is the garden, the entrance of the Gan. They were also on the ark. Mm-hmm. Now, when they were in the desert, we learned in last week's Parsha, Bar Midbar, what did he do? He realigned and restructured all the extremities of Zah. And the ark was in the middle because there was two GER, and everything was there. Shekinah was there. Everything was there. Everything's good. But as soon as you don't have GER, you don't have the Ark of the Covenant in the temple either. So because of the root of the GER, and there was no GER, you can't have the Ark. So the Ark and the GER are going to be connected by its root of creation. So what most people think is we had the first temple, we got the second temple, then we got to have the third temple. But that's not how it works. The second temple aspect has to go up to the first temple, and the second temple plus the first temple is the third temple. It's 1 plus 2 is 3, not 1, 2, 3. In other words, it's going to have the aspects of the first temple. It is going to have the aspects of the second temple, but it's going to be more than both of them. That's what the third temple is. So, hopefully those will help you explain those two kasha questions a little bit. All right. Onward. Verse 5. I was black but comely, O daughters of Jerusalem. She says, I was black on the outside, but this is only when I'm in the time of exile, in a personal exile or collective exile. The blackness is the klipa in the exile. But beneath the klipa, she says, I'm comely, I'm pretty. There is nothing negative in her on her inner side. The Ari says the black aspect that is attaching to her is the din. Doesn't have any mitigation. But after the mitigation, she is comely, beautiful, pretty, desirable. The daughters of Jerusalem. These are the other cities of the world which who she is speaking to. The Shekhinah is speaking to the nations. Like the tents of Kedar. The word Kedar here is also meaning darkness. Tents of Kedar is the localities of the Ishmaelites. What's happening in our world right now? The Ishmaelites are proliferating. The darkness is due to the Hitzonims, those sparks, that darken her like a cloud. But she is pretty inside like the curtains of Solomon. So, let's read it again. I'm black but comely, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon. Even though she is in a contamination, even though she is ugly on the outer side, he sees her inner beauty. He has union with her anyway, because he says she is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Remember the whole Rachel Leah thing there? How do we know Adam had those two wives? Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Remember that? That broke out the whole little thing. The separation from him is only caused in the external level. And so in the externals, the only separation from God that occurs is down here, hanging out in the externals. The inner part of Malchut is connected. But in the inner level, no separation can exist. She says to the nations, don't look upon my blackness that I have been darkened from the sun. In other words, what's going on, you have to read it in context of what's happening at this time, okay? If you were a laborer outside working all the time, you got sunburned. You know, you were poor. You were sunburned and dark and everything. And those in aristocracy were inside and never got any sun and had smooth skin and all this stuff. So she's saying, because I've been in these externals as being tanned, quote unquote, by the sun, her skin is not beautiful. But inside she is. So she says to the nations, don't look upon my blackness, that I have become darkened from the son of Kedar. Don't stare in contempt. In other words, Israel is saying, what we're looking like in exile is not what this is. And if you go over there, you see it in exile and it just looks terrible. But she's saying don't look at that. Don't look at it from an external point of view. And when I was over there, that's all I could see was this external, stuff. Don't stare in contempt. This is not a part of me, and it will fade. She says, this is the way I appear in exile. When I'm in exile, I cannot reveal all of my light to prevent the Hitzonim from clinging to me. So here's what's going on. The reason Israel is in exile is for one reason. Turn it around. It's not that God's mad at them and He's kicking them out. When they are in exile, the Hitzonim can come in. If they are not in exile, their light is so bright you can't go near them. The exile is to get the fallen sparks and the GER, Nelva, and all these things. Without the exile, none of us could return. Because only when her light is dim can you even get close to her. So that's what the exile is for. And so she's explaining here, I know I may look bad, but that's only the exterior garment that I'm showing right now because I'm having to hide my light or you wouldn't be able to get close. This is the secret of the Tevat Moshe, the little ark that Moses was in. Alright? Moses was put in a little boat, put out in the Nile, right? A little ark, let's call it. This is the secret that what he was hidden in. That it had the tar and the pitch on the outside and it was black. What story does that sound like? Noah's Ark, right? Same story. It's to seal off the Guvarot. When the Guvarot is used to seal in the light, and it cuts off all it cuts off all of her six extremities. This is called the Vak. The Vak is her six extremities. It is concealed by the Holy Guvarot. This is the secret of the 6 panels of the Ark of the Covenant. All right? Ark of the Covenant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are her Haggad and Nahi. She has 6 sides, 6 extremities. All right? So the ark, every ark had it. The one Moses was in, the one Noah was in, and the one the tablets were in. It's all the same sort of deal. It's to hold her together and so that her extremities aren't exposed. Now, gaze not upon me, for I am dark. This word dark, and because the sun has scorched me. I'm going to try to pronounce this here. This word here, she zephanti, she zephanti. This word here can be the first she can be shin, which is numerical value of 6. Because it also means to gaze or seeing. Also the seeing from the sun. She's getting a suntan on the 6, so to speak, on her extremities. And it says, my mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards. But my own vineyards I have not kept. My mother's sons, children, have quarreled with me. These are the nations of the world, or the era of Ra. Made them serve strange gods. The children, these are the sins of Israel that caused the exile, and she must go with them. As in your transgressions, your mother has been sent. The mother is the Shekhinah, and she has all of Israel rooted in her, because these are her children. This word here, anger, my mother's children were angry with me. This word anger is haron, or we say here Haran, right? That's where Laban lived.
Or Lavan.
Or Lavan. Yeah. And quarreled is Necharu. All right. So this is the same place that Jacob was headed. All right. Same story. It's going to be a short class tonight, just going through this. So why is she pleading with her lover? From the first verse. First line, kiss me. Because he has reason not to. Don't look at the outside. That's what she's saying. First she's saying, kiss me, and then she said, but don't look at me, because I've been in exile. I've got all this klipa and all this stuff and all this muck and all this stuff. But he does, and of course she brings the nations in, and they all come in. Don't look at me on the outside, but kiss me and draw me in. She is speaking from the inner. She is anticipating the rejection. Let's see. They have made me the keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard I have not kept. They have placed me as a guard for their vineyards. My own vineyard I did not guard, doing their idol worship. The vineyard is Malchut. My own vineyard is the God of my fathers. Now I must serve. Now I must serve to the day on the feast outside of the land that they did not serve, the full one day in the land. So what happens? So what's he talking about here? The Jews, because of the exile and the chasing after other gods or whatever, the era of Ra, that caused all the blemishes. When you're in the land of Israel, you only have to serve one day on the feast. But over here, you have to serve 2 days. Because when you're on the inside, it's just one. But when you're in the externals, like Shavuot, over here, 2 days. Rosh Hashanah, 2 days. Everything over here is like, well, you got to do this day and then this the next day. But you don't have to do it like that over there. That is the double that you have to do outside the land, outside in the 70. Okay? The Ari says, everything has an internal aspect and an external aspect. In Israel, both the internal and external aspect can be done on the same day. But outside the land, it takes 2 days. One for the internal, one for the external. Verse 7. The exile on her is too difficult for her, and it's unbecoming, because the externals feed on her sustenance, thus as he feeds her. So look what's going on here. The more Jews in an area, the more prosperous the area. The more Jews in another nation, the more prosperous the other nation. Because Shepha she's feeding her children. But when her children live outside the land, it's feeding other people too. If all the Jews went back to Israel, the entire world would go broke. You know? But, you know, Steven Spielberg and all these other guys, you know, they're Jews and they're over here, and Zuckerberg and all this stuff. And it makes a lot of people around them even wealthy that aren't Jews, and so on and so on and so on and so on. Because her sustenance is for her children. This is the great pain for her. And her children and her children are exiled from her father's table. She cannot tolerate this because she knows that he loves her soul. So why is he doing this to her? Tell me, tell me, O you whom my soul loves, where do you pasture your flock, and where do you make it rest at noon? Now she is lamenting. All of the din are too much in exile. Like the burning sun at midday. Then the verse says, tell me whom my soul loves. The next verse says where. The next word is where. This word where is acha. Acha means where. It's also ach, eich, hey is Lamentations. It's the same word here for where is the same word for Lamentations in Hebrew. Because, and if you separate the word out like this, I'm going to attempt to spell it. I'm just going to spell it like this so you can kind of see. Acha is if you take it and separate out where this is the hay, this word here is Lamentations, but this part is the Shekhinah. So this is her Lamentations.
What would be the definition of Lamentations to them?
Sorrow.
Inner sorrow.
Yeah. Lamenting.
So it's better, you're saying it's her sorrow.
Mm-hmm. But she doesn't understand why he's doing it. All right?
Mm.
What is she going to do? So she says, where do you pasture your flock? And where do you make it rest at noon? What is he doing? Where do you rest your flock at high noon? This is the high noon is code for the peak of the exile. High noon, that's the peak of the exile. This is Israel. The term acha is used twice, as in, if you see it first there, where do you pasture your flock, and where do you make it rest at high noon? Where? This word, acha, has a gematria of 36. So we have 2 times 36. What is 2 times 36?
72.
72. It's a hesed. He's doing it as a hesed. What could possibly be a hesed? Because there are 36 tzaddikim in Israel, in the world, at all times. So the world does not lack. Well, guess what? There's 36 tzaddikim outside the land of Israel. so the world does not lack. So the reason for this whole thing is to make sure that it's not just Genesis 36, the showering of vessels. It's 36 plus 36. It is the whole 72.
That's right, but are these the revealed and the concealed tzaddik? Is that what making the 72?
That's
so the concealed is outside the land.
I would say that would probably be.
There's
I don't know.
no holes in both?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
That'd be important to know.
Yeah, I'll ask on that. Which of the two would be revealed and concealed? I would say, I don't know, I'd have a tendency to say the concealed would be in the land, and the revealed would be outside.
I think they can be anywhere. I mean, I don't know, because we know the story of the Baal Shem Tov and how he came in contact with, his concealed tzaddik, and this concealed and revealed can never come together, and this is what's caused him almost to die. So I mean, it's something.
I don't know. We'll check into that. So, these 36 in Israel and 36 outside. This is something that's not well known. The 36 in is a well known fact. And the 36 outside is not so well known, but it's right here in the in this verse in verse 7. So we've gone through the first verse, which is the Sphirot. We've gone through the second verse, which is her wanting the mitigate guberoted, the guberot mitigated and everything brought in. Verse 3 is the oils, which is what he's pouring out to her, which is also the Torah, etc. And the Nel Ger are brought in that verse. Verse 4, everything is being brought in, both the Shekhinah and the 70 nations, the righteous 70. And now it is in a inner union. And she is in verse 5 telling not to. She's telling the nations not to. She because she is in exile, and her daughter, her sister cities are in exile in this Kedar, which is likened to darkness, which is likened to the Ishmaelites. But it's going to be, but she is still like the curtains inside Solomon's temple. But don't look upon her or judge her because of this darkness, because she is in exile. It is she had to go there with her children, and she had to be able to feed them and keep them and protect them and able to bring them back in. And this was all to spread the Hesed of the Tzaddikim around the world. So that brings us pretty much to verse 7. Anybody got anything?
Very good.
Very good.
That's it from us. Torah's amazing, Sage is amazing. See you next week.